Yo, hello everybody. Molus and Bonani. Hello, how's it? And hey, shalom, man. Shalom. Yo, yo. Hey, man. These lefties are out here dribbling y'all. Just straight up dribbling you guys. Yo, there's some funny stuff. That is some funny stuff. It is proper clown world out here, man. These lefties and commies and woke mainstream media straight up dribbling you guys. And some of you are like, what? What's going on? You've got to stay woke. Woke. Hey guys, I'm telling you, it is a proper clown world in this country. Proper clown world. You can literally have a country that is at the point of absolute collapse. Mass unemployment rates. Literally an economy that is completely being wrecked. A society that faces a crime wave epidemic, a real pandemic of actual crime in this country that is killing people left, right, and center. A situation where the poverty rate in this country is screaming in the upward trajectory. A situation in which the corruption levels in this country have rendered what should be one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It's rendered us into becoming an open sewer because everybody's stealing, dealing, wheeling. All of these issues that we're dealing with as South Africans, but the major issue that we chose to focus on today, according to the trendy lefties, the commies, and the mainstream media, no, is our hair. Oh my goodness, they said. Oh, some of that hair is flat and fine versus frizzy and damaged and ordinary hair. Proper clown world. Proper clown world. I cannot begin to make this up. But as I said, I cannot begin to even try to make this up. But it's actually our reality. That should tell you everything you need to know about the nature of our leadership in this country and the politicians who call themselves leaders in South Africa. That should tell you everything you need to know about the clown world nature of it all. Out here dribbling, y'all. What's going on? What's going on? Dribbled. So again, it comes back to what I really want to have a chat about with you guys here today. It's not going to be a long vlog. We're aiming sort of 15 minutes or so, because there's three things you need to understand. Number one, the EFF don't really care about poor people in this country, period. The EFF do not care about poor people in this country, period. Nor do they care about the people they argue they represent, i.e. the working class, and of course by extension the poor. They don't give a flying fudge about those people, because on what basis do you literally mob and blockade stores where the very people who you claim are your constituency work in, when in reality those people had nothing to do? If you're angry at the advert, those people, the staff of Clicks, had nothing to do with the advert, and yet they're the ones who you're making pay the heavy price of not being able to work, of not being able to put an income and really food on the table. Those are the people who the EFF are opting to damage and destroy the livelihoods of. Like, at some stage, someone has to ask the serious questions about the nature of the EFF and the charlatans that they are. Why is no one speaking about these issues? Why are we so fearful of these thugs who wear red berets and literally mob and essentially damage property, destroy people's lives? Why are we not saying anything about this? Why are we so fearful that we would rather keep quiet and allow the mob to rule in place of what should be the rule of law and essentially a democracy and a functioning society? Sorry, I was just hooting because these two douchebags nearly effed each other and no one is looking into their mirrors. Jeepers, guys. And now they're having a little argument. Settle it properly, you're adults. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. I digress. I'm in the parking lot, if you're wondering why that happened. We say nothing because we're so fearful. And by the way, that fear is exactly what the mob wants. It wants you to become a illogical, irrational, and complicit and quiet individual as they maraud and riot and loot their way and destroy their way through society, destroying firstly the institutions that govern an entire society, principally the rule of law and equality before the law. Because that right now has been effectively destroyed. And that's not a new thing. The EFF has been working on that. What do I mean? Let me give you a prime example. Just a few weekends ago, a few bikers wanted to ride into the city of Cape Town as part of their efforts to protest against the farm murder spates and incidents in this country. And what happened on that day? The state, SAPS, was there in full force, throwing and hurling stun grenades into that crowd, literally a disproportionate show of violence and force against people who really, in real terms, were actually very peaceful. If you are going to have any form of protest, that was the gold standard. People just organizing, peaceful, riding through. Their hope at least was to ride to parliament. Yo, yes, Vodacom is real trash, Ngampela. Vodacom is real trash. I'm in a proper area with full 4G coverage, yet it still buffers. But I was making my point, and the last point I think I was making is go back even further. Where the hospitality industry, yeah, you remember them. Y'all think I forgot about that. Hashtag jobs save lives. Those folks, peaceful, law-abiding guys, the guys who just get on with things and pay their taxes. Well, let me rephrase that. You don't pay taxes. Taxes are taken from you. They're effectively a form of theft. No one voluntarily pays tax. And if you don't believe me, try withhold your tax and see what happens to you. Anyway, I digress. Peaceful folks. Chefs, waitrons, restaurant owners, supply chain, the booze industry, you name it. Said, hey man, this lockdown, it's killing us. We just want to have our voices heard. We want to have a train, if you remember their protest outside Parliament, again here in Cape Town. What happened to them? SAPS came in with the water cannons, stun grenades. You would have thought these were riotous hooligans. Peaceful folk. In fact, on that day, don't forget, SAPS literally blew a high-pressure water hose, police hose, into a computer and electronics business that had nothing to do with the protest even, destroying their shop, destroying their equipment. I actually wonder how things panned out at that shop. I should probably pay them a visit and ask whether they were able to replace stuff. But again, I digress. The point is, the state came down really heavy on law-abiding good people. So you would therefore expect that after the EFF, literally from their leadership to their little acolyte drones, openly call for and incite violence. Yesterday and in the days leading up to today, openly called for this. You'd expect that the police would be, at the very least, there, right? To protect life, liberty, and property. You'd expect that, right? Because that is a legitimate role of the state. So you'd expect the police to be there at the very least. The one time where you want them to be there, to do their actual job. And where were the police? Dololo. A few smatterings here and there. I saw on social media in Goodwood here in Cape Town, the city of Cape Town at least brought some form of law enforcement. But in real terms, SAPS were there just to sort of passive observers like anybody else. Maybe a meek attempt here and there to say, guys, maybe you need to move on, yeah? In fact, they probably sounded like Piglet in Winnie the Pooh. Remember Piglet? Baby. No, that's not Piglet. That's that's Porky Pig. Either way, they probably sound like some meek little thing trying to move these EFF goons who are blocking stores, preventing people from earning an income, and worse yet, preventing actual people who need clicks for their essential services like healthcare, chronic patients, for example, who go to clicks for their medicines, preventing those people, often elderly, sick, etc., from accessing a basic right. Guys, don't be dribbled. Don't be dribbled. Don't be dribbled and believe the nonsense you're hearing. Because I'm telling you now, the media in this country are complicit. They're the sort of people who say, oh, the EFF are just having a peaceful protest, they'll say. Even though there are stores literally up in flames right now. In Alberton, if you look online, you'll see what I'm talking about. Even though there are people being assaulted, shops being ransacked. Oh, but no, they'll say. You know, this was fiery, but mostly peaceful protesters. Guys, you're being dribbled. You're being dribbled. And I told you as far as a week ago, in fact, sorry, that given the amount of pressure the public is mounting on politicians in this country, primarily the ANC, you can bet your bottom dollar I predicted back then that you're about to hear a massive race scandal to distract from all the pressure that the ANC is essentially running under. Now, you might be thinking, but hang on, it's the EFF who are doing this. It's not the ANC, but the EFF and the ANC, man, I've been saying this to you guys. The EFF are literally the Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Where Black Lives Matter and Antifa, what they are to the Democrats in America, literally EFF is that to the ANC. They're simply a more radical arm of the ANC. They're the ones who do all the nonsense, whilst the ANC sits back and goes, oh, look at these EFF guys. Why would they do this? Meanwhile, they're running interference for the ANC. All the while, you are being dribbled. You're believing that these are two different entities. They're not. Again, you've got to start waking up. Don't be dribbled. Because it is a crooked coalition of media in this country and really the political elites that do this. And whilst all of you are busy fighting this fictitious race war, they're literally looting the shit out of the country, excuse my language, looting the hell out of this country and destroying the very things that you and I need as services. Don't be dribbled. I keep saying this. So let me conclude. The EFF, because I was going to go into the points as to why this is happening. Number one, the EFF don't give a flying fudge about the poor and the working class. That's the first thing. Because that's just exemplified what's happening today. Number two, in real terms, there is no difference between the ANC and the EFF. Both of them have a nice little iterative relationship, you know, where yes, there's different colors, different leadership and all that nonsense, but in real terms, they're both hand in hand, a yin and a yang. They need each other. They reinforce each other's stereotypes and each other's politics. So you're seeing that play out. Then throw in the third leg of the potjie pot, right? Throw in the third leg of the potjie pot, which is essentially a mainstream media in this country who are equally versed in the sort of worldview and the ideology that is shared by the ANC, which is a race nationalism and an almost woke identitarian type outlook to things, which of course is yoked to their socialist, pining for socialism. So that's what you're seeing at the moment. A crooked coalition of these three things. And who suffers in all of this? The ordinary South African. People who in real terms just want to get on with their lives, man. I just want to get to clicks, buy my medicines and leave. But I can't do that. Why? Because the political elites in this country who have been so hungry for attention that is other than our criticism of them are literally doing this nonsense. And it is you, the ordinary person, who suffers. You're being dribbled. You're being dribbled by these commies, man. So that I actually hope you understand why I often say, never trust a damn commie. Never trust a commie. But let me conclude. Number one, this has nothing to do with poor people or aiding poor people or even aiding black people, as the claims would be. Number two, be very wary of the crooked coalition between the media, the political elites in this country, whether the ANC and EFF, and of course the gaggle of race-based and race-obsessed activists in this country. Number 3, Clicks itself messed up by apologizing. Messed up by apologizing insofar as inviting that sort of energy to say, look at us, we're weak. Come and do this. Because that's the energy they put out. Clicks should have been literally from the get-go, you know what? This was a tiny error, not worth the fuss that's being put into this. We'll fix this. We'll fix this as they should, and communicate better. Because it's only when you really pay attention to this advert and the campaign that you realize there's no malicious intent in this. It's a dumb move, yes, but there's no real malicious intent in this. And I actually was nearly falling for it until people actually started explaining, especially the ladies who use these shampoos, were saying, actually, hang on, all of these are actually categories of shampoo for a hair type, not a race type for hair. And for a moment, I was like, you know, that sounds logical, because you actually look at the actual damn products, and it's there. There's normal, there's dry and frizzy, and blah, 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 all that nonsense. And I'll happily concede that the way in which the advert was put together, it literally invited this energy. And for that basis, I would argue, yes, fine, Clicks was right to say, look, we messed up in that regard. And in real terms, again, facts matter more than emotions. Clicks is not responsible for that advert. But again, facts don't matter when a lefty literally has a dog with a bone. Is a dog with a bone, sorry. Facts don't matter. Emotions matter. That's why all the arguments you've been hearing today, as I watched these various clips, because there were clips that were shared by a journalist, a Cape Town journalist here, Atim Tongana. And you can check out her social media feed. I think she works for ENCA or one of those work news stations. I'm not sure which one. In any event, she shares this video of an old gogo who tried to go to a Clicks to pick up her chronic meds. A gogo who, in that very even moment, is in pain and says, look, man, I have a bone issue of some sort and I need these meds. And there are these EFF goons blocking her way. And how the EFFers, the Fers, if I can call them that, how they justified what they were doing was they completely fabricated the story. Completely fabricated the story. That Clicks went out of its way to say blacks have bad hair and that whites have good hair. They completely fabricated that. So, of course, if you know no better and you're hearing it from these EFF assholes, you literally are thinking, yeah, that's probably what Clicks said, but it's not. And this is what I keep saying to you. You're being dribbled, man. Wake up, VUKA. You're being drilled by these commies who are trying to elicit an emotional response that has nothing to do with reality. So that you're so angry in the moment that you won't even listen to someone who wants to clarify what you're looking at. Because I nearly went into that trap, until people actually said, hang on, dude, relax. This is what's happening here. And yes, it's bad, it's badly communicated, but in reality, there's nothing racial or malicious or no malfeasance intended in this. Because other people are now pointing out that the head of marketing at Clicks is a black dude. Oh, guys, come on, man. Stay with it. Keep up, keep up. Black dude heads up the marketing department. And it beggars belief that a black individual would purposefully put out something which is racist. But because we don't take the time to listen, hear things out, follow some sort of due process, have a firm understanding based on the facts, and then react, people would rather be viscerally and respond viscerally, be these angry little, should I call them Teletubbies? Instead of actually just following facts. But yeah, this is what happens when politicians need to dribble you and distract you. Why? Because you are becoming awake. You are VUKAing to their nonsense and you are beginning to call out their nonsense. And I'm seeing a guy's name here, Velima Bena, who's the marketing director for the Clicks group. It beggars belief. I mean, if I were to probably talk to this guy and say, hey, dog, you know, are you racist and were you just trying to slander black folk? The guy would be like, what? But of course, to the left, facts don't matter, facts don't matter. And what should scare you the most, if amongst everything else, is that this is a registered political party in this country that feeds off of taxpayers' funds. You are funding this hooliganism. You are funding this thuggery. You are funding this horde of red-clad idiots who literally see no better way of addressing issues other than violence, intimidation, looting, riotous behavior, and really harming people. Because you've got to understand, the EFF is not beyond harming people. They've shown that. They've shown that with a wanton disregard for people's life, liberty, and property rights. But y'all have to keep up, man. Y'all have to keep up. Don't be dribbled. Don't be dribbled. Hashtag don't be dribbled. Yeah. I'm going to recap and close it. Maybe I might read a few comments, but let me recap and close it because I'm going on 21 minutes now. Hashtag don't be dribbled. This has nothing to do with Black South Africans and defending our honor. Has nothing to do with that. Number two, this has nothing to do with the working class and defending them. This is simply a political elite in this country who have been desperate for attention, desperate for some media play. And I warned you about this also in the context of what attention politicians were getting. It was incredibly critical of them. South Africans had literally VUKA'd and were beginning to not only pose tough questions, but were literally berating the political elite in this country. And of course, the ANC can't have that. So they've started asking their friends in the mainstream media and of course in opposition politics like the EFF to run interference for them, to shield them from the criticism, and to create, of course, a distraction, to misdirect and create a distraction. And what's the best distraction that we always see in this country? Race. Race. In South Africa, you just literally have to say anything about race and everybody gets distracted. And it's absolute nonsense. Because the very people who suffered today, I can tell you now, were the very staff members who work at Clicks. And who are they? Mostly Black South Africans. Imagine the irony of being a Black South African who works in a Click store, watching just outside your door, people who came to trade on your behalf, looting, trashing your store, and essentially blocking business, blocking your very means to an income after 4 or 5 months of no income via the lockdown. But of course, the EFF won't care about that because they made their money. Politicians got their money over this lockdown. So of course, there's no conception in their minds that actually South Africans are hurting financially and that just the semblances of beginning to get back to business is desperately needed. But we don't live in that country. We live in a country where race is a big distraction. You've got to wake up, people. You're being dribbled. You're being dribbled by a political elite who are in bed with a media in this country who are so vested in this message of race that nothing else matters in a country with mass unemployment, mass poverty, and I can go down the line. You are being dribbled, VUKA. So as I said, has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with the claim that they represent poor people, has nothing to do with any of that nonsense. What you're seeing here are desperate politicians who, on the one hand, wanted media attention, and they got it. Number two, wanted to preserve a status quo of an ANC unofficial coalition, where the EFF will happily play interference and run interference in defense of the ANC, whilst pretending in words to be in opposition to the ANC. You get dribbled with their lies. And of course, a media who are chums and bosom buddies with both the ANC and the EFF. They worship these politicians who, excuse me, who will happily push out the narrative that, oh, Clicks was assaulting the dignity of blacks in this country, blah, blah, blah. Saw the likes of Dan Moyane losing his mind this morning. With what facts? I have no idea. But the narrative was good enough for the journalists and the anchors. The narrative being pushed out was good enough. The facts, irrelevant. And then there's a last ambit. There's a last element I need to address, because this all ties back to the capture of institutions in this country, which sadly includes pockets of the judiciary The judiciary in this country do not respect life, liberty, and property rights, or at least pockets of it. Let me not use a blanket statement, not all of it. But there are some judges who see themselves as activists for the sort of leftist and really identitarian politics that is really pervaded all institutions in society. This weird race obsession, this idea that if I'm woke enough, I represent the marginalized. It's all nonsense. I mean, it beggars belief that the High Court, I think it was in Johannesburg, wherever Clicks went, it beggars belief that the High Court allowed this shit. It absolutely beggars belief, because it means if a poor person were to approach a court looking for protection for their meager property rights, they wouldn't get them. If a massive corporation like that with high-powered attorneys couldn't get a protection from the state to interdict a political party that has incited violence already, if they couldn't get protection from the state, who the hell will? Who the hell will? So that there are alarm bells there when it comes to the judiciary. When the judiciary passes judgments which don't protect and honor life, liberty, and property rights, whether it's for a big corporate or me, the small man. And that, of course, has a lot to do with the battle of ideas, which the judiciary is not immune to. Because I must clarify this. I'm not attacking the entire judiciary, but there are judges that have to be called out. Neither am I making a statement about this particular judge. Because again, it's becoming a bit of a trend. It's actually becoming a bit of a trend. I mean, a good example that I can cite, again, very recent, is how the city of Cape Town was told by the courts that it cannot protect people's property rights when land is being invaded. That one cannot act in that moment to protect your property rights, to remove people who may be trespassing and invading your land. A court told us we are not allowed, it is illegal according to a court and judges, to protect your property rights, and that you must first approach the courts through an urgent interdict. Now, there's two problems with that. Number one, if I don't have that kind of money, it means then I have no access to justice. Number two, it assumes that approaching a court on an urgent basis is an easy thing to do. It's very accessible. It's not. It really isn't. It really isn't. And whilst you're busy trying to approach the court to protect your property rights, people will very well be moving onto your land and establishing themselves. Guys, eyeball. There is a reason I tell you that you've got to be involved in the battle of ideas, because bad ideas are literally pervasive, and their tentacles are stretching into all corners of society, all institutions of the state. And whilst you're not seeing that, you're being dribbled by people who are pushing these bad ideas, and you focus on nonsense whilst your very rights to life, liberty, and property rights are being eroded in front of you. That's what's happening here. So I'm going to end it there, my beautiful fellow South Africans, by saying, VUKA, wake up. You are being dribbled here. You are being dribbled by people who essentially are corrupting the very institutions of society, whether it's in the state, civil society, or just in ordinary communities. They're corrupting the very institutions that you and I depend on to live in a functional democracy. And if they succeed, then that's it. Project South Africa is over. And I would argue we're already kind of there in many ways, socially, economically, and really in our politics. And that really, when I say to you, support those of us who are on the ground working and engaging in the battle of ideas to push back against the bad ideas and to push in liberty ideas, there's a reason why I say do that. I'm gonna leave it there. Guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like this video. Please share the video. If there were any comments that I didn't see, I'll read them when I rewatch this video. But again, you gotta wake up, man. Don't be dribbled, because I'm telling you now, there is a crooked coalition developing around you, a crooked coalition that is pushing bad ideas into the community, and I cannot stand alone to push good ideas. I need the help. I need the help, and I'm working on that. And those of you who are already helping, both by offering accommodation, some of you offer, some of you offer some diesel. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Some of you even say, hey, man, here's my last dollar. Do your thing. Guys, get involved. Get involved. And it's not just through me. Please don't think it's just via me only. Support people who are fighting for actual liberty in this country and are doing the groundwork. Not these flashy campaigns that sometimes you wonder what's happening here. Get involved in the actual groundwork, because I'm telling you now, pay attention around you. There are people who are raising their voices now in the bad direction. I want to name them. That's why I had a little moment there. It's happening. Guys, it is open season. It's grifting season for these politicians who are desperate for power, who are using all of this woke terminology to obscure reality, to obscure facts. It's grifting season for them. And I'm telling you now, as they push bad ideas into communities, there must be more of us who are pushing good ideas into communities, so we don't have incidents like these that just go unchallenged and unquestioned. VUKA. VUKA. Don't be dribbled, man. That's all I want to say. Guys, thanks for watching. Please like the video. Please share the video. Have many people as possible see it. And yeah, I'm going to watch the comment section. Let me know what you think. Were you one of those who was dribbled? Or were you VUKA'd? Did you VUKA in this moment and watch and see what's happening around you? Let me know what you think of clicks. I do think there's a bit of an error in how they presented this, because it opened the door to this misinterpretation, a misinterpretation that is then used by some people maliciously to push their own agendas, which is exactly what the EFF did. So let me know what you think about them. Let me know what you think about the EFF. Those red and tooth and claw commies that they are. I'm going to watch your comments, and yeah, guys, I'm going to see you guys on Wednesday for the Big Daddy Liberty Show. Very special episode. Please do not miss it. I will bring you the visuals, the images, the conversations I had with farmers when I was in Newcastle on Saturday, commemorating, of course, the memory of Glenn and Vida Rafferty, who were murdered. They didn't pass away. They didn't die, as I've heard some people sort of use to trying to be polite. But that couple was murdered in cold blood. And again, they make up the ever-growing numbers of farmers in this country who are being murdered and really attacked. We have a national crisis on our hands, guys, with crime in general. But guys, when it comes to our farming community, it is an absolute disaster, what we're seeing. So I'll bring you visuals of what happened in that part of the world and how a community got back to literally say here and no further, and they will fight back. So look out for that. That comes to you this Wednesday, 7 p.m. for the Big Daddy Liberty Show. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. And as I said, check out the comments, drop a comment rather, like, share, let me know what you think. I'll look forward to that. Guys, with that being said, remember hashtag don't be dribbled on this one, and hashtag never trust a commie.